Rocket's cool, and he's got the bravado, right? Like small man syndrome. I've got these enormous guns because I'm overcompensating for being small and deemed cute and not a threat. And man, that was me for most of my life. What would it be like if people were scared of me?
What are the only words that he says? I am Groot.
Now, whatever you do, don't push this button.
I am Groot.
Uh-huh.
I am Groot.
That's right.
I am Groot.
No! No, that's the button that will kill everyone!
Does he make himself understood?
I think so, yes.
I love that because it's like, it's showing us that like, it's not just our words that speak. He's like the loneliest character because he has no one else to like relate to from species perspective. You can see that he pushes people away a lot because like loneliness is all he knows. Again, it comes down to the best he's doing with the thinking he's got. His thinking is like, all I know is loneliness, so I don't need anyone, so I'm just gonna push people away.
What's up, ladies and gents? Welcome back to another episode of
Nerd Life Coaches.
Yeah, that's what time it is around here. If you don't know about this podcast, welcome. You've struck gold in your prospecting.
You're going to have a wonderful time right now because this is the space that we've opened up to talk about the things that have impacted our lives the most, from anime, comic books, video games, movies, TV shows, because like these things are written by people who aren't just like idiots that write stuff. There's like actual meaningful messages in some of the storylines, the plots, the characters. And the stuff that we've got from the things that we talk about in this podcast have like drastically changed our lives. So we talk about this stuff anyway. So we thought, why don't we just start recording it? That could be fun. So we bought some stuff and here we are. And
we started this channel so that we can open up a conversation. Like we said, we're going to do this anyway. We'll chop it up and talk about what did we get out of the latest episode of whatever. But this has changed our lives so much that we want to share it with you. So share what you're getting from these conversations with us. Share what you got from the thing that we're talking about. For example, today, Guardians of the Galaxy. What did you get from it? Write in the comment section. What does the movie mean to you? And we want to build community around something that's nourishing, not something that's detrimental for us.
And without I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but spoiler alerts is what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, big fat spoiler warning.
If you haven't seen any of the Guardians movies,
What?
or some of the Marvel universe, cinematic universe, just throwing it out there might be some spoilers in this episode. And there's also going to be some massive lumps of gold for you to find. If you're willing to listen with open listening and give your fullest attention.
Ooh, nice.
You like that one?
Yeah, I do. We could talk for a long time about types of listening and quality of listening. Maybe we'll do that later.
That'd be a whole episode by itself.
Yeah,
but yeah, like we wanted to talk about Guardians today because a new movie's coming out very soon. It'd probably be the week that this episode goes out. The new movie will be out.
Yeah, number 3.
Number 3. So we thought, do you know what? There's actually some really great characters and storylines in the first 2 movies. And I don't know, man. I quite enjoy the character breakdowns that we've done recently. So I thought like, yeah. And shout out Mick, our producer. He was like, hey guys, why don't you do a little breakdown of the Guardians? Because the new movie's coming out. And I was like, oh yeah.
Our producer Mick is a genius.
Yeah.
That's putting it lightly.
Yeah. The reason we look so good is because of Mick on these videos and the way this is edited is all him. But he's also a genius when it comes to content ideas, and Guardians was one for. He shouted us like, mate, I think you guys should do this. So, and do you know what it is for me, man? Like the Guardians, I think is a really good. It's just a fun way to access like some of the stuff that's like in the Marvel universe in general. Like as you know, like my girlfriend Shen, she's not really been into Marvel. And for my birthday, I got tickets to the Secret Cinema Experience, which is a Guardians of the Galaxy themed one. And she was meant to come with me, and she couldn't come in the end. But she was like, but I really want to watch the movies with you because like you said they were really good and fun. So we sat and we watched like the first movie, and she was like obsessed. She was like, oh my God, this is like amazing. Like I want to watch the second one. And now we're going through like the Marvel universe from like Iron Man onwards. So I feel like these movies as a whole, like as well as there being like some really powerful stuff in, they're really fun way to like just be part of like that world, because it's just totally different. There's like such good humor, but also some like really good like characters and really good like plots and stories and stuff.
Do you know who I like? And this is quite funny. I like Drax the most because he's so literal. He doesn't understand like sarcasm or metaphors or like analogies. Like he's just saying stuff point blank. It's like explaining to something to him is like explaining stuff to a kid.
You must be so embarrassed.
And I like that it's like people who have autism, they interact socially in a different way because the world isn't used to people not complying with social norms. So you give them a label. If we gave Drax maybe it's not autism, a different label, you have to adjust how you speak with him, and because he's dangerous, you want to be a bit careful of how you speak to him, innit? I find that really interesting. Like, if he wasn't dangerous, I don't think people would give a shit if he understood stuff or not. They'd be like, yeah, well, shut up, innit, whatever.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, and I think there's something really interesting in his character as well, because like his role in the whole thing is like his wife and daughter, I think, got killed at the hands of one of Thanos's whoever, people that come and slaughtered loads of people. And I think there's a real interesting like underlying story there around like dealing with grief, and like the way that he kind of deals with the grief is like through his own humor. Like he's always like finding the funny in situations, and he's always like laughing about stuff, and it's like there's an anger there of like his whole thing is like the reason he's part of the Guardians is there's like retribution of like I want to you know fuck these people up who took my family from me, and he's like finding his way through it through humor. And I think it's just like it's a really interesting thing how like we can go through something very deep and hurtful, yet we can still live a life that can look like it's quite light and breezy and fun, and like the two worlds can coexist. And I think we get caught in this narrative of like it's one or the other. Like you're either in the depths of despair and anger or grief, and that's it, or you're like happy and you're finding the fun in situations and you know content for want of a better word. But actually like the two things, like I've seen it, they can work hand in hand. And I was talking to we almost had a special guest on today's episode who unfortunately couldn't stay for the recording, our friend Reggie. And I was talking to her before we hit record, and I was saying it's so funny because remember when we were in India, I had a day where I was really sick, and I spent the whole day in bed, and I was just like I had like food poisoning and like deli belly or whatever, and I spent the whole day in bed. And I remember I said to you towards the end of the trip, I was like, actually that was one of my most fun days I had, because I literally just did nothing all day. I just watched stuff on my iPad, had like a shower, like went down, got a like little light massage, got back into bed, you know, watched some more stuff on my iPad. And it's like, even though I was like uncomfortable and I was tired and my body was aching, I was still having fun in that. So it's like the two things can really like coexist in the same space. And I think when we start to see that, it changes the possibility of what we can experience in any moment. I can be sad and I can have fun and be happy at the same time.
I can feel sad, but I can be having fun.
Yeah.
It reminds me of this story. This guy was running an event. I don't want to say who it was. And someone in the crowd was like, well, if I think I understand what you're saying, then, you know, I can just forget about my dead wife and, you know, her life means nothing. And then the guy who's running the event goes, hey, just so you know, you can be happy and that not be a disservice to your wife's memory. And the guy starts crying, yeah. And he's like, you know, the misunderstanding sometimes with grief is that it has to be heavy.
Yeah.
But I think the grief can give you a lightness with living. Because you got appreciation. Everything's temporary, Hef. You know, like anything we do. And Simba, yeah, my dog, he's 8 years old this year. Ooh. And he's a golden retriever. They don't get to 15 generally. So he's well over halfway.
Middle-aged now.
Probably more than that. Probably like getting to middle to old age. You know, it's I was saying it to my mom the other day, like, he's not going to be around later on. And yet knowing that, we enjoy him now and it's great. And later on, like when he's not around, we'll still have fun with his memory, innit? Oh, do you remember he used to do this? Do you remember how, you know, like, he's got a very distinct attitude. It's really funny.
Yeah.
That I like that a lot. It doesn't have to be heavy.
Yeah. And I think it is that it's like the heaviness is created, so is the lightness. And it can be both. You can choose one or the other, and it can be both. And I think the and is very important in there, because a lot of people is like, oh, I'm sad, so I can't be this other thing. It's like, actually, what if it could be both? What if there could be a lightness that comes with the heaviness? What if there's, you know, something that can be created from that? And I think that for me, like that's what I see in Drax, and that's why I love him as well. He's like, he's just got this like humor. I don't think he's even trying to be funny most of the time, but he's got humor, and he sees the humor in situations, even though he's like intensely going through something internally. Like his whole mission is like, I want to get revenge, yet he's like still having fun with it. He's not just like, I'm on the mission and that's it. I can't be having fun right now because I need to avenge my, you know, family or whatever.
You know, I've forgotten what the woman's name is. You know, not Gamora. You know, the one with the antennas.
Yeah, that's
she
Mantis.
can make. Oh, really?
Yeah. She
She's
can
like,
feel people's emotions.
That's it. Yeah. Oh man, there's so much in that, right? Like, is she feeling other people's emotions, or is she feeling what she's thinking about how people feel?
Ooh.
You know, like some people call themselves empaths, yeah? And one part of me, I really deeply see, like, we're all connected. You know, you can sense how you can get an idea of how someone's feeling. So on one side, I get it. And on the other side, when someone tells me that they are this thing, I'm going to ask myself and them the same question. Are you feeling other people's emotions, or are you feeling what you think about what they might be feeling? There's no way you can be certain. There's no way you can just start feeling what someone's feeling. Narcissists apparently trick empaths all the time. So were you really feeling what they were feeling? Or were you feeling what you were thinking about what they were feeling?
Yeah, and I guess it's like, it all comes down to interpretation, right? And it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I think it's an interesting conversation, because I've found generally, like, I can pick up on someone's like energy, whether that's feeling someone's emotions or just like, I generally like will find myself picking up on energy in certain situations and like almost adapting to that in a way. Like I used to like, so when I was younger, I never really used to drink, and I used to go out to clubs, and I'd be able to have such a good time because I'd pick up on the energy of other people having a good time. At least that's what I think. I don't know. And I see it in other situations, like when you know, someone's sad, it's like I can almost feel myself shifting, not to sadness, but to energetically pick that up as like a sensor, you know. But it's not like, again, it is my interpretation at the same time. It's my interpretation of what I deem as their sadness. Their interpretation of that might be entirely different. But I still think like you said, there's a oneness there, there's a connection. It's like the same way trees will give nourishment to a tree that isn't receiving as much food or sunlight or whatever. They'll come together and they'll give more nourishment to that. There's a oneness to that. They sense that this tree isn't getting the nourishment it needs, so they pull together and they provide it with the nourishment. It kind of feels like a similar thing. Like energetically, we can pick up on other people's energy and things that are going on, and yeah, like we can, you know, whatever our version of nourish that is. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes people take.
I find it interesting with Mantis, yeah, like she's trying to, whose brain is she trying to control, or like she's trying to keep someone sleeping?
Thanos.
That's Thanos.
Huh? What?
Yeah, it's in Endgame.
That's it, yeah. And she's like, I can't control it. And eventually it's too much.
Infinity Wars, not Endgame. But yeah,
sorry, nerds. I think it's quite interesting, like how often in relationships do we try and maybe control isn't the right word, but like mediate how someone's feeling. If they're really angry, do we walk on eggshells around them? Do we try and suppress how they're feeling with our, like, you know, oh, like if I do this, will they stop being angry and all that? Like, is that helpful? I don't think so. That's why I was talking to the guys on the last men's retreat about do you keep your partner guessing with multiple problems to solve at all times? So like in every relationship I've been in, yeah, at some point, shock, horror, I'll get into an argument, or not even an argument, I'll annoy my partner. Let's put it properly. They haven't done anything. It's usually me. At one time my girlfriend was cooking something, and she wasn't making any for me, which she was before. Like before I annoyed her, she would always make me something to eat. I can cook, so it's not a big deal to me, right? I was like, is there some of that for me? And she didn't reply. And I'm standing right next to her, so I just, like she's using both of her hands to cook, right? I take her wrist like this, and I just hold it up in the air, and she's like trying to pull it, and like not talking to me, and I'm just straight face like, and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, got you to talk to me. And then like just like being silly with her, I got her to start laughing with me, and then we talked about the issue, and we sorted it out. And I just think like there's a real power to humor and play in relationships. But what that thing with Thanos showed me, it's like a metaphor for like, when do we do that with people's feelings? Oh, this guy's angry. Maybe I should, try and suppress that with some humor or whatever. You can try and suppress it. You can try and whatever. But what are we really doing? Why are we responding to the way someone's feeling or acting in the way that we are? What are we trying to get from that? Because what I did with my girlfriend was like, I don't give a shit if you're angry. Not in a mean way, but just like, it's inconsequential to me. At some point, we're going to get back on it and we're going to be talking again. If you need to ride it out and be angry with me, cool. I'm just going to be silly with you until you finished.
Yeah. And do you know what? It reminds me of this thing. I read the Relationship Handbook, the amazing book by George Pransky. And he talks about communication in a relationship. Like generally you hear like, oh, you need to communicate more. You need to communicate more. You need to communicate more. Like generally it's like advice given for relationships. And what he says is like, what if communicating more isn't actually that beneficial, because it comes down to how you're communicating and where you're communicating from. That's the most important thing. And he uses this metaphor of like communications like a pipe. So it's like, if you've got a pipe in your house and you put dirty water in the top of the pipe, what's going to come out at the end? Dirty water. If you put clean water in the top, what's going to come out at the end? Clean water. And he's like, communication's the same. If you put bad feelings in the top of the pipe of communication, what's going to come out through your communication is bad feelings. You put in good feelings at the top, what's going to come out is good feelings, while the way that you're communicating. So what he's saying is that it's more important to communicate from that space of good feeling, love or, positivity, or whatever you want to call it, between you, like that positive feeling between two people, to have the most effective communication. Rather than like what you're saying with Mantis, is like people try and like, suppress other people's feelings, or like they try and, second guess what's going on for someone, rather than like, actually, why don't we both just get into that positive feeling together?
It's reactionary, isn't it?
Yeah, and then we can actually communicate. But you might even say the same kind of things, and it will be received differently because of how you're communicating it from, where you're communicating it from. And I think that's sick, man. That's been a game changer for me, man. Like, and I think like, yeah, that it's just a big thing to realize that actually, am I communicating from a place of like reactionary, or am I doing it from a kind of cultured response?
Yeah, because the pendulum has swung the other way, especially for men. Before it was men don't talk. Now it's like encouraging everyone to talk about everything. And I love what you're getting at, because it's like, well, is it going to be helpful? Is it going to progress us to the next part of a good time that we're going to have together? Or am I just communicating some stuff from a bad feeling, which is going to take us in the opposite direction?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. Sit with it for a bit. Like change the place you're coming from first, then talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? It's like the other cat, like, seeing as onto Thanos a little bit, like the characters of Gamora and Nebula in Guardians, like especially Gamora, I think more than Nebula, it's so like, I think it's so amazing, because it's like they're identifying like, actually, like our dad, adopted dad, is a bit fucked up. Like he's trying to kill half the universe. Like we should actually try, and we've got the power to do something about this. We know the most about him. We should try and go and help people, or like do something about it. And it's like, I really see that as like, how many times do we see that there's something that we can do and we shy away from it? That we can do a good thing, even if it's a small good deed, like offering to help someone carry their pram down the stairs at the train station. We can see that, oh, I can help, and we shy away from it. Whereas like what I see in like Gamora and Nebula is like, actually, we see there's something we can do here, and we're going to do something about it. And yeah, okay, you can say like in the grand scheme of things, the consequences are big because it's like people are going to lose their lives. But what if it's like actually in day-to-day life, if you can see that you can do something about something, why not do it? You know, especially if it's like if it's going to be a good thing and it's going to benefit someone else. If we lived in a society like that, geez, man, imagine how different things would be. Like people doing things for the good of each other and for the world, or for, you know, the society or the small community that you live in, even just in your neighborhood.
Yeah, if we all did our bit, if we all pitched in and just did a little bit of good every day, we can clean up a lot of things.
Yeah.
This really is a good point to make, because sometimes it's similar to One Punch Man. Sometimes we think that saving the world is like huge heroic efforts. For him, it's one punch. For us, it could be like pick up the trash.
Yeah.
Tell your mom you love her. Small things.
Yeah. I remember like when I was younger, like this is like when I was in school, so probably like 17, 18. At some point, I don't know what it was. I used to always like, you know, you'd go to McDonald's or you'd eat your burger and you just throw the wrapper on the floor. At some point, I was like, why am I doing that? Like, what if I just stop throwing my rubbish on the floor? Someone's going to have to pick it up anyway. And I just stopped littering. Like, wherever I could, like, just stop throwing like sweet wrappers or whatever, leaving cans or whatever, bottles of, you know, plastic bottles, just throwing them like into a bush or something. Like, what if I just stopped doing that? Like, for the good, I didn't even know if at the time it was like for the good of anything. It was just like, I don't need to do it. I can just hold on to it and throw it in a bin. And it's like, even something small like that can have a big impact. Like, we don't know the impact of stuff like that. Imagine the impact of just saying hello to a stranger when you walk down the street. You don't know the impact on that. That could be like someone who's been so lonely in their life, was having a terrible day, or they just received some bad news, and you've greeted them with a warm smile and said hello. It might have just given them a momentary and that could have had a massive impact on their day. And it's like, you know, we get so caught up in our own head about stuff, and instead it's like, actually there's something bigger at play here. There's something beyond me, this avatar of Alex that is actually at play here, and maybe I want to do something nice about that.
And doing good things just because it feels good to do it, not for any outcome.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he was saying how he's been very patient with someone he's known for over a decade, and his patience is wearing thin. I'm like, yeah, that's not coming from the other person. Your patience with you is wearing thin. So you're going to give it to other people like that. And I just found it really interesting. Like, the relationship we have with ourselves is the relationship we've got with the world. Do you go out and smile at strangers, talk to people, or are you like conserved and insular? You don't have to be. Like, not everyone has to be a massive extrovert. But just, I think there's something to that. There's something to be said about what you gain from regular small acts of kindness in the world. Makes you a different person.
Yeah, I think, like, I love the saying, like, you know, it's net profit. You know, it's net profit. If you do something good for someone, it's net profit. Like, provide kindness with kindness, you know, give kindness for kindness, or whatever. I don't know what way the saying goes, but like, it's net profit. If you're kind to someone, that person receives, you know, a good thing from you, and it might boost them a little bit. That's net profit. There's now someone moving through the day who feels a little bit more, I don't know, sprightly. You know, it's only ever going to be that if we're just giving kindness, giving love in the world in our own way. Net profit. Can't ever go wrong with that. It's beneficial nonetheless.
I like that a lot. Speaking of net profit, let's segue into another character who is doing their best to create net profit, but at the same time, very self-centered. Star-Lord.
Oof. Yeah.
Quill.
He's
very self-centered, and it's not really about net profit for him unless he's winning. But like, that's the surface level of it, and then underneath that, he is actually like good at heart. Like, he wants what's best for everyone. There's a lot of childish ego stuff going on there to be able to get into that, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, it is cool, and I think it's funny as well, because it's like he's only out for himself because that's all he's known. And that's why like he's doing the best with the thinking he can, because he was abducted from Earth as a child. He didn't know who his dad was. His mum passed away when he was, actually I think he gets abducted on the day of his mum's death or something. Anyway, so all he's known is growing up with the Ravengers and them lot, and they're just out for themselves. They're like pirates basically. They're just out for themselves. Let's get the money, let's do the dirty work. And that's all he's known. So like he's just doing the best he can with the thinking that he has based on the environment he's been in. If he becomes more aware outside of that, of like, you know, I don't know, like maybe I can act a little less selflessly. Is that right? Yeah, selflessly. And a bit more like loving or a bit more like communal about stuff. Maybe it could be different.
Who's that self you're trying to be less of? Which character, which t-shirt did you put on and say, actually, do you know what, I want to be less of this guy?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And do you know what it is as well? It's like, I see it as like, you know, when and even at times now, like I was saying to you the other day while I was on holiday recently, and I was having a lot of like thinking, kind of, there was a lot of judgment, there was a lot of like comparison, and you know, I was just doing the best I could with the thinking that was coming up for me at the time. And if I see the innocence in that, if I can see that that's the innocence, it falls away quickly. Whereas if I start going, oh, I should know better, you know, I talk about this stuff with my clients all the time, this shouldn't be happening to me, you know, then there's like, I get stuck in the trap. Whereas if I see the innocence in like, oh, I'm just, yeah, okay, I'm experiencing this and I'm doing the best I can with it right now, and yeah, it's creating some feelings in me, cool. Like it just dissipates on its own. And it's like, it's been and it's gone before you know it. And I think that's like, you know, I don't know how the hell that ties into Star-Lord, but...
But here we are.
That's where we arrived.
Okay, let's tie it back into him. If he was able to have that light and breezy attitude with himself, a lot of the me-centric behavior he has that splits up the team or like causes problems, a lot of that stuff would subside. Yeah, we wouldn't have fun hijinks for movies, but the team would function better, and it wouldn't be such a like contest. You know, like when Thor gets on their ship, he wouldn't try and be like, oh well, I'm captain. Like, yeah, it's funny for the movie. I'm not saying don't have it, but it's pointing to something that we might have all experienced at some point, where we want to be the fucking boss. I want to be in charge here. I want to be the leader. Who the fuck are you coming up in my house telling me how to live? No. I'm not having it. For what reason? He might actually be a better leader. It's coming from fucking ego.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? And it's funny because who's his dad?
Ego. I was just about to say that, isn't it? Isn't that his dad's name?
Yeah. Which is funny because it's like, and you know what? He's a really interesting character as well. I'll come back to Quill in a sec, but like, Ego's a really interesting character because to me, like, Ego as the character is all about judgment. His whole thing is like, you know, I'm looking for the child who can help me, you know, do whatever he wants to do and take over the planet through his weird blue goo stuff, right? So every child that he's had with all of these different people over the different years that haven't met his standards, and he's judged them as being less than what he wants from a child, he's just like binned them off and killed them.
Oh, do you know what? Sorry to interrupt. I watched 300 recently.
Ooh.
And you know when the babies are born, they check them for imperfections and all that. And if they're not strong enough, they just fucking throw them off a cliff.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Sorry,
but look at that for judgment, innit?
Yeah.
And it's like, and the way I see it is like, you know, he's not really judging his children for not being enough. He's judging himself for not being enough, because in his world, in his opinion, he's not enough as he is to carry out what he wants to carry out. He needs a second, you know, a second of kin. I don't even know if that's the right saying. Getting all my sayings mixed up today. Second of kin to help him. So he's judging himself for not being enough. And he's then projecting that onto these children, that he's saying, oh, you're not enough because you can't help me with this thing. You don't have the special gene that Quill has. So just bin you off and kill you or whatever.
He's got a when and then going on.
Yeah.
When I have the right kid, then everything will be complete and I can chill.
Yeah.
And how many of us can fucking relate to that?
Yeah.
When I make enough money, then I'll be happy. When my mom gets it, then I can have a good relationship with her. It's nonsense.
When I feel ready, then I'll make a start.
Nah, that fucking ready shit. Do you know what? So my dad asked me about what's the thing about ready? Like, why are you not saying it? And even Steve asked me about it. Hardison, he goes, what's this thing about ready? Because he asked me, are you ready? He asked me something about ready, and I said, sorry, I don't use that word. He was like, why? And I said, we stay ready, so we don't have to get ready. And that doesn't make sense. Like, if you ask someone, are you ready? You have to calculate a billion fucking things.
Yeah.
But if you got rid of it from a vocabulary and said, do you want to start?
Yeah.
Different story.
Yeah. And it's funny because actually there's a bit in I think it's Guardians 1 actually, you know, where they're in the prison and they're coming up with the escape plan, and Rocket's sitting everyone down. It's like, okay, we need to get this, we need to get that, we need to do that, and then we need to take that panel off the wall, but we need to take that panel off last, because when we take the panel off, it's going to be chaos in here. And Groot just walks over and like rips it off the wall, and he's like, all right, I guess we're ready. And it's like they have to click into action, and they have to start what they wanted to do. Whereas if they were waiting for ready, maybe they wouldn't have got to ready. Maybe they wouldn't have got the things that they needed to then, you know, go and do the escape.
That's a great example of what we call burning the boats, right? So they've ripped the panel off the wall earlier than they would have liked, but now they got no choice but to get going now. And it's the same thing with like, it's a story about a conqueror. They went to this island. No one had been able to conquer it before. I think it was Montezuma, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember the guy's name. But anyway, he gets to this island, and it's taken a couple of weeks to get there. People have died on the way there. People are starving. There's sickness and all this stuff. He gets there. The first thing he says when they touch down, right, everyone, burn the boats. You ain't going home. Home? Yeah, no, that doesn't exist anymore. Here's home. Fight for this like it's your home. You got one choice. Invade it or die. Which one you want? And they were like, shit. All right, I guess I'm doing it. And I think how it relates to modern living is like, yeah, that ready thing just gets in the way. You know, we'll do the panel last. Do it first, so you got a bit of fucking urgency. And also, like, that's a very hardcore and extreme attitude for us to have sometimes. So it's not for everyone, and it doesn't have to be 100-0. It could be like 65-35. Like, for example, when I started coaching full time, I wasn't making loads of money, but I was choosing to stay at home, so I didn't have any bills. Well, like, I had some, but like not crazy. That was my version of 65-35, or like for me it's like 80-20. And for some other people, they might want it to be like 90-10. Everyone's balance is right for them. But the I'm not ready and all that is just like killing more dreams than anything else.
Yeah, and I love the thing. Like, I remember when I was really getting into like my own journey of self-development, one of the things that I used to hear, I think it was Lewis Howes when I was listening to his podcast, The School of Greatness, quite a lot.
Shout out Lewis Howes.
Yeah, shout out Lewis, man. Good egg. I met him in LA once.
Yeah.
He's cool, man. Yeah, we met up and we had a little chat. He took me back to his apartment. I met his mum. Like, I got the time wrong, so I turned up like half an hour like later than I thought. I got the timing wrong because of the time difference and stuff. And he was like, oh, dude, like, yeah, we can hang, but like, I need to get back to my apartment, so I've got some things to do. You just want to come with me? So he got in the car that I was driving, and I drove him back to his apartment. And we went into his apartment, and I was just like, he had like another meeting with someone. So he had that. No, I think we sat down and spoke for like half an hour, and then his other meeting turned up, and then I like met his mum. His mum was like making him lunch and stuff. I was like, this is so weird. I'm just like here in his house, like where he records his like podcasts and stuff. But anyway, story aside, I can't remember where I was going with that. Oh yeah, so I used to hear this thing that he said all the time on the podcast, where he'd be like, I always start something before I feel like I'm ready to start. When I feel like I'm 80% ready, or whatever the percentage is, I'll make the start. And it was one of the things that really like inspired me to start my podcast at the time. I didn't feel ready. I didn't know how to interview people. I'd never promoted a podcast. I'd never done any of that. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I never filmed anything. I had filmed stuff, but not like for myself. It'd always been paid for companies and stuff when I was working in social media. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to start it. And like, once I start, I know that I'm in and I'm committed and I'm not going to look back. You know, 280 episodes later, this podcast, a football podcast that I've done later, you know, that's where I started. Same with my coaching. I didn't really feel ready. I was just like, remember I had a word of the best piece of advice I ever received was from, you know, shout out John Dashfield. He was one of my early mentors, and the very first piece of advice he gave me was like, if you want to start coaching, just start coaching people. Forget trying to learn more about coaching. Forget reading stuff. Forget trying to learn more. Just start coaching people and just go from there. And I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. And I just went with it. I didn't feel ready. I'd never coached anyone before. I've never done any qualification to be a coach. All I did was like read stuff and, you know, gone on my own journey and seen my own life transform. I was like, okay, I guess, well, if I've done stuff for myself, maybe I can help someone else. And we just start speaking to some people. Same with this podcast. We just started it. You know, we had a little bit of planning going on, but that's still making a start, was planning and then taking the action to actually get stuff going, get recordings, you know, find a way to edit it, put it out and all that stuff. Just started it.
And I think hiring Mick to, like, paying him as a commitment of this is going ahead and buying the equipment, like, there was no ready. It was just, we're going to do this. Let's just fucking go.
Yeah.
And the more time, I feel like the more time we spend on the planning and the whatever the hell, the thinking about it, the less potent we are in action. And action is the only way to impact our lives. Where, like, it's full stop. Thinking doesn't impact our life. Like, if you only think about something, this is what I used to get annoyed about manifesting. People would be like, I'm manifesting something. Like, really? How you doing that? And they'll talk about their thought processes. I'm like, okay, that's like maybe 10, 15, 20% of it. I don't know the numbers. That's just my guess. The other large majority of it is action. What actions are you taking? I don't know how the hell we ended up here.
I don't either, but I'm liking it. Then the other thing with that as well is, like, it reminds me of one of my favorite sayings. Being in action is more powerful than being in my feelings. Do I feel like I'm ready to start? Do I feel confident enough? Do I feel whatever? Maybe not. But being in action with whatever it is that you say that you want to do is far more powerful than waiting for the feeling arrive to make the start. If you make the start and you commit to it, you're in. You've already taken a far greater step than waiting for the feeling to arrive to make the start, to feel ready.
And that's the thing, man. Like, Sydney Banks said, look for a feeling, right? Our feelings are telling us something, but I've gotten into this really black and white way of thinking about feelings before. I used to look at it like, oh, it's just my feelings, it doesn't mean anything. But the gut and the heart and the brain are the three brains of our system. So, yeah, emotions, yeah, they're telling us something, but there's something to it. Like, yeah, my feelings don't need to get in the way of what I'm doing, and my feelings are also telling me something. So if I've got a story about, oh, this is going to be hard, who am I to do this and all that, I'm going to have those feelings associated with it. And then at a deeper level, there's like a quiet knowing feeling of calm and serenity that's like, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm starting to get more of an inkling. I don't think I've really got it. I don't think I can't really articulate it properly. But there's a subtle difference between your real quiet inner knowing and your loud surface level psychology feelings. And I'm starting to get a glimpse of it. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I think there is something really powerful in it, man, because it's like there's, like you said, the psychological, what do you say, psychological feelings?
Surface level psychological weather patterns.
The weather patterns, they're like our moment to moment experience, isn't it? Is the way, this is how I understand it, is our moment to moment experience. But then that knowing that sits underneath, the deep resonant feeling of just, I don't know, groundedness or calmness or stillness or whatever. It's just, it's the blue sky to the weather. It's always there. And it's like, if we become more in touch with that, then we become more grounded in that, because we start to see the weather and the psychological weather as being fleeting and passing. And we know, like, again, goes back to what I was saying earlier, when I was on holiday and I was having all of this thinking going on, a massive part of me knew that it would pass. But then the psychological thinking was like, oh my God, like, why is this happening to me? Like, oh, why can't I chill while I'm on holiday? Like, I was feeling guilty about taking time out, and I was judging myself for a bunch of stuff, and I was comparing myself to other people who weren't taking time out and stuff like that. And And it's just interesting because it's like it was like living in both worlds. It's like living in the world of like, oh my god, this is really happening to me right now, whilst also like having that knowing like, actually this is gonna pass at some point. I don't really have to worry about it that much. It's a very interesting space to be in.
Who's next? Groot.
Groot. Oh,
and Rocket.
talking of Groot, we have a little friend. I'm gonna put him here. Is he in shot there? Yeah, he's kind of in shot. What about let's balance little baby Groot right there.
That's a cute little birdie.
So,
in there.
Here's why I think Groot is a great character. What are the only words that he says? I am Groot.
Now, whatever you do, don't push this button.
I am Groot.
Uh-huh.
I am Groot.
That's right.
I am Groot.
No! No, that's the button that will kill everyone.
Look, okay, all right, go on.
Does he make himself understood?
No.
As a viewer of the movies, can you generally understand what Groot is saying with his limited language? I am Groot.
I think so, yes.
He's not talking with his words. He's talking with his being. You,
I
don't
just rolled my eyes because you know what, bro? Okay, look, here's my thing. I'm being a judgmental dick right now. I don't like it. It's childish, it's stupid, it's lazy, and it's actually genius.
Yeah, it is genius because look, he makes himself understood. You have no reason to not understand him because he's got limited words. The way that the tone that he uses, the way his face looks, if he's smiling, if he's angry, if he's whatever, you can tell what he's saying, even though he's just saying the same three words over and over again. And it's like I love that because it's like it's showing us that like it's not just our words that speak. It's our body language, it's our being, it's where we're coming from. It's the feeling that we're feeling in the moment is also speaking. Again, it comes back to the communication thing. That's what Groot represents to me, is like he's a representation of like it's not just our language and our words that communicate to people. There's so many other ways of communication, and we just focus on one little part, which is the words. What if we could all only say I am Alex, I am Sachin, and that's the only words we could say? How would we communicate? It'd be through our being, it'd be through other stuff. And I think that's powerful, man, because it's like, what if we just stopped listening to just the words that someone was saying, and we were listening to actually where are they coming from? What are they really saying that their words aren't saying?
Yeah, it would force you to listen to people in a different way.
Very different way.
Yeah.
Like the way that you have to listen to Groot is very different to how you have to listen to every other character.
I like that for relationships, like non-verbal communication. Again, like presenting your partner with multiple problems to deal with so she doesn't get bored or he doesn't get bored. I've noticed like a lot of older married couples have this, like they'll speak in, my mom and dad do, they speak in half sentences and they seem to understand exactly what they're saying, and I'm sitting there like, what the hell are you lot talking about? You know, like I've noticed a lot of that. But yeah, it's good, man. I didn't really appreciate it before. I just thought it was some stupid kid shit, but yeah, I like that.
It's a good one. It
is a very good one, man. I'll give you that all day long. Fucking hell. All right.
Who's left?
Rocket. Rocket's man, cool. And he's got the bravado, right? Like small man syndrome. You know, like I've got these enormous guns because I'm overcompensating for being small and deemed cute and not a threat. And man, that was me for most of my life. Like I wanted to have that. And I never really fulfilled it, but I wanted to be revered at some points in my life. Like, what would it be like if people were scared of me? And I have this ongoing joke with Aladdin. When I was drunk one time, I had one of my friends' friends was like someone who's quite dangerous. He wasn't my friend, but I said to someone when I was drunk, oh yeah, if I make 2 phone calls, you're fucking dead. And Aladdin was like, he just found it so funny because I used to say it as a serious thing. And that guy once said to me, my friend, he's tell Sachin to stop saying my fucking name. That he didn't even really know me like that. And I was like, yeah. I can really relate to Rocket because of that. Yeah. You know, like I wanted to have something that people were scared of, but really I'm cute and lovable. Yeah.
Do you know what? I like that. It's a nice metaphor because I think we've all got a bit of that in us. Like some kind of bravado, some kind of mask that we put on to, you know, show ourselves in a way that we think makes us look better than, you know, what we actually really are, which is just the same as everyone else. You know, and Rocket, you know, you could say, okay, yeah, he's different because he's a talking raccoon or rabbit, as Thor likes to call him. But actually, he's just the same as anyone else. He's got the same wants and needs. He's got the same emotions. He feels the same things. He's got the same whatever, you know. And it's like we can fall into the trap of like, okay, I need to put this mask on now and I need to be this big guy. And there's a scene in it's either Guardians 2 or Infinity War where he actually like shows a bit of emotion and someone's like, Rocket, are you crying? He's like, no. And it's like, again, it's going to show that there's more to him than just like the bravado. And the other thing that I love about him is like he's they say he's the loneliest character in the MCU because he's a one of a kind. He's, you know, he was genetically modified or tested on or something as a, you know, he's like the only walking, talking raccoon that we know about. So he's like the loneliest character because he has no one else to like relate to from a species or you know, we are one kind of perspective. And you can see that he pushes people away a lot because like loneliness is all he knows. Again, it comes down to the best he's doing with the thinking he's got. His thinking is like, all I know is loneliness, so I don't need anyone, so I'm gonna push people away. Pushing people away because like all he knows is like loneliness, and it's like that's his comfort zone. You know, his comfort zone is being lonely. And it's like my comfort zone for a long time was being miserable and not wanting to really show emotion or not really wanting to, you know, have to look into, you know, feelings or anything like that. That was my comfort zone, and I was doing a lot of stuff that I probably wouldn't do now back then because it was all I knew at the time. And it's like how often do we do things because it's all we know. We're only ever acting out of the realms of what our intellect knows. And what's our intellect based on? Our intellect is based on memory and past experience, but it's not all that there is. The unknown is where, you know, there's way more available to us. And it's like with Rocket, it's like, you know, I don't know, like maybe in this third movie they might explore his character a bit more in that and like help him to see what's in the unknown. And I think his journey through the other two films and through Infinity War and Endgame is like he's starting to see like actually these people are my family, like I don't have to be lonely. And he's starting to see that there's something more available to him because, okay, maybe loneliness isn't the only thing that I know. Maybe I can know something else, and that's interesting.
Keith says it, our mentor Keith, the unknown is what everyone's been looking for. And the unknown gives you a break from your past. The unknown gives you possibility. The unknown gives you a way out of what you think is right and wrong or should and shouldn't do and all that. And what I see with Rocket when you say he's pushing people away, there's one part where someone like pets him, like a little, like gives him a stroke on the head, and he like his ears go down a little bit and he drops his defenses. And it reminds me of like, I really enjoy physical touch in a relationship, and it's one of my stronger love languages. And I like the same thing, play with my hair in it, fucking massage my scalp and all that. It's great. And the first time someone did it to me out of love, really gently, I started crying. And I was like, whoa, not sad tears or anything, just I don't know why, I just started crying. And they were like, you're right. I was like, yeah, I'm really enjoying this, but I don't know why I'm getting emotional. And I think it's like when we really allow ourselves to be with people without all of the defense and the, you know, how am I supposed to behave here and who have I been before this moment, you can really melt into moments and have something deeper connected instead of like scripted conversations based on what you know, based on who you've been up until this point. At that moment, I had never experienced that, and I let myself really like feel into it.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Yeah, and it's like it's a dropping of the guard, you know. And my dropping of the guard for me was like being more open and being more vulnerable. Like I remember when, you know, I first had the conversation with my friends about like being depressed and miserable. I remember we were on our way to a football game, and it's like we went to the pub, and I don't think I was really drinking. They were like, "Oh, why aren't you drinking?" And I just started saying like, "Oh, I've been going through some stuff, and this is what I've experienced in the last few years." And it just really, the dropping of the guard just like allowed me to be way more open, rather than trying to hide behind this barrier that I'd kind of put up for so many years. And it's like that is like the you know, the stroking on the head is like, you can see Rocket like laying down his guard in that moment of like, oh, I don't need to be this tough guy right now. I can just be like a cute, you know, fox that people want. Well, he's not a fox, a raccoon that people want to stroke.
Yeah, man. There's a Rocket in all of us. You know, like there's a softness, there's a tenderness there, man. Like, I love that word, tenderness. It feels like there really is. There's like a tenderness in everyone who we want to be loved, and we want to love other people. I think it's only natural, and I love that Rocket is a symbol of that, even though it doesn't look like it on the surface. Like, if you watch this movie, are you really gonna fucking see that?
Yeah. But that's it. I think that's it, right? It's like it's this is what I was saying before. Like, when he's got the same wants and needs as everyone, he wants to be loved. Everyone wants to be loved. Even people who say they don't probably do. Like, it's just innate. Like, love is what emanates through all of us and through nature. It's just like, we want to share that love with people, with things, with, you know, whatever.
We're doing it right now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. It's like, you know, it's what most of us want, is just to be loved and to give love. That's it.
You know, saying that, yeah, I'm playing God of War Ascension right
Ooh.
now. So you got God of War 1, 2, Ascension, and God of War 1, 2, 3, Ascension. And then I think there was another one. And then there's God of War 2018, then Ragnarok, right? So there's like 5 God of War games, proper ones. And in this one, he's just fucking pissed. In all of the games, he's angry in it. It's just that he just looks fucked off all the time. And he's ripped, he's angry, and he's just killing people in it, or killing monsters, yeah? And we're talking about this conversation about everyone wants to love and be loved. Why? Even the most angry people, it's coming from love. He's obviously pissed off about stuff. Like, Ares, the god of war, has tricked him into killing his family or something, and he's just out for it. Like, he's not taking no, literally, I'm gonna pull your guts out and watch you choke on your own fucking blood and all that. And it's coming from the love that he had for his family.
Yeah.
It's really funny because I never saw this stuff as true before. I was like, nah, he's pissed. Like, more power to him. But it's not. It's yeah. Well, you said it the best. You go, Peter Parker and Spider-Man can't be in the same room at the same time. It's the same person. Like, anger and love.
Yeah.
Say Peter Parker, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's monumental. Oh, also started watching Spiderman Unlimited, which has got a banging techno soundtrack.
Oh, is that the
Cartoon.
the most modern?
No, it's an old one, 1990 something.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I thought what's the one? There's one that's a more
Spider-Verse.
No, there's a more recent, like 2012 or something, animated series which is supposed to be good.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. I can't remember what it's
like
called.
Spider-Man something. I can't remember. I've been watching the 1994 original, like, again, mate, it's so good. Like, I've been just having it on in the background while I'm doing stuff, or
So
just chilling watching it.
There's a couple of episodes, yeah. The Sinister Six, the Six Forgotten Warriors, Secret Wars, the fucking there's another one, but these are like a couple of episodes deep each. Some of them are 6 episodes long.
Sick.
So brilliant, like.
So which is this? This is Unlimited.
No, that's in 1994 one.
Oh, the 94 one, yeah. I think that's in like the second or third series.
Yeah, and then you've got Venom and Carnage episodes.
Yeah.
You've got fucking Kingpin's episodes,
yeah.
Daredevil, The Punisher,
That's why I'm watching
Blade.
it. Yeah.
Oh man!
Do you know why I started watching it? Because I remember when I was younger, like Spider-Man, I used to watch it all the time on Cartoon Network or whatever it used to be on. And there was, remember the episodes where he turns into the Man Spider?
Oh yeah.
And for some reason, I never ever saw the conclusion of those episodes. So I started Googling what's the Spider-Man series where he turns into Man Spider, and I saw that on Disney Plus they've got all of the Spider-Man stuff on their animated series and stuff. So I was just like, right, we're just gonna start watching it, and it's just a fun thing. Like, it's 20 minutes. It's not even 20 minutes. Like 18 minutes an episode. You just bang it on. Sick.
You know who this is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated Marvel characters ever, Mr. Sinister.
Ooh.
You know who he is?
Yeah.
Mate, he shows up in some of the X-Men animated series episodes, and fucking hell, he's evil. He's just on aggro all the time. He doesn't give a shit about anything. He just wants to fuck with people. And him, Apocalypse, Galactus, and Doctor Doom, Dormammu, fucking, there's loads of them, yeah? They're just on crud all the time, 24/7. They wake up and they're pissed off. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't find it funny. Yes, it's kind of funny, but I just love that. Like, this... We're talking about everyone wants to be loving, yeah, everyone wants to be loved. These lot are on such the other end of the spectrum. I'm sure it still applies to them in some way, but you look at Mr. Sinister. He's like, yeah, go on, Apocalypse, experiment on me. I want to be a mutant now. Like, Charles Darwin told me I was a bit extreme, but fuck him, innit? Let's go. Like, I love that about him, man. And I think they're making a Mr. Sinister movie at some point.
Are they? Oh, that'd be fun. I think
can't
it's
wait.
like, yeah, man. I think those characters, like, the love thing can apply. And, like, the most recent example I can think of is, like, you look at... Let's take Kang, right? We did that episode recently, right? Kang was big bad guy, right? He's probably one of, like, the most powerful angry guys. I can't think of the right words. Villains, there we go.
Angry guy.
I blanked. Angry guys in like the MCU or the comics or whatever. And look at the reason that he's doing what he does especially in the new Quantumania film. He's doing it because, like, I'm trying to protect everyone from all of these other versions of me fucking everything up. If that's not coming from love, I don't know what is. As angry as it comes across and as dominating and as conquering as he is, it's still coming from a place of love. And I'm sure we could look at all of these other people. Thanos you could look at Apocalypse, you could probably look at Mr. Sinister, all of them, and you can Galactus.
Yeah, and I think so, like, yeah, we innately want to come from that place, and then you layer misunderstandings, hatred, your interpretation around events, mate, like, you can lose it. You can start distancing yourself from it on purpose.
Yeah.
And I think all of us have done that, like, have put on the nihilistic shell or the fucking helmet of nihilism and being like, nah, fuck everyone, I don't believe in love. I asked this woman, yeah, I met her last week at a rave, one of the most beautiful women I've ever met in my life. And it was funny, this is separate to the thing I was going to say, I had eye contact with her that was more intense than some sexual interactions I've had with other women. It was more than enough for me to be satisfied. It was really strange. I've never had that before. Our interpretations around events can, like, take us off the path from believing in true love. The first question I asked her was, well, I said to her, are you married? She goes, no. I go, do you want to be? She goes, yeah, at some point maybe. And then I asked her, do you believe in true love? And she said, yeah, of course. And, you know, like, I think a lot of us have been hurt in relationships. A lot of us have had bad relationships, or, like, there's no such thing as bad. A lot of us have had unpleasant experiences, whether it's like sexual assault, fucking abuse, harassment, verbal, whatever.
Even like heartbreak.
Yeah, and I've seen people become jaded over time. I recently learnt what that word means, and you know, like, they don't believe in true love anymore, and it's really sad because I've been like that for a long time. And now I'm really opening myself up to it. Like, nah, it's there. You believe it. It's not even believing it. You surrender to it. And in that surrendering, you drop all of this heavy stuff. You drop your Apocalypse, Mr. Sinister, Galactus type energies, and you're coming back to that little soft raccoon. Or maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just the journey I'm on.
No, man. I think that resonates, man. Like, I can definitely resonate. Can you, if you're watching or listening, can you resonate with that? Let us know.
And if you resonate, don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button. You know what I'm saying? That's what fucking time is around.
Yeah, hit that subscribe button, like, share. Come find us on Instagram and TikTok. Tip tap
the subscribe button.
Tip tap the subscribe button on TikTok at Nerd Life Coaches. And like we said at the start, we're here to open up conversation. So let us know, what did you take from this episode for you?
We're out here. Nerd life.